Hello everyone, how's it going? How are you all doing? Who's got 5? Who's there? Who went ahead and updated? I'll be honest, I still don't have it. The reason that I don't have it is I'm doing some updates. I have some other projects that are still going on. So I know I can have multiple installs of it. It's just I want to go into 5 and concentrate on it. So I want to finish up some of the other stuff that I'm going to do, or that I have to do and have started, and then work my way into 5. So I don't have 5 yet. I'm still working in 4.6, and if we get into it today, which we will, we'll do everything in there. Sorry, I got a message. Yes, I do. All right, I'll answer that guy later. That's enough. So there's lots of things we can do today. I'm at a loss for words. We can go back and do some more drum programming. I can show you how I approached doing some mix prep. I recently received a session that I need to mix. So the client sent me all the multi-tracks, and I can show you some of the stuff that I've gone in to do, because when you get tracks to mix and you load them in the Studio One, you just kind of get, and you load it in. It's good to have some time set aside so that you can go in and do your organization, do any kind of normalization, because it's a different mindset being in the mix prep mindset versus mix prep is a great idea. We'll be holding off till Black Friday to see if there's a sale. Not bad, Kyle. Mix prep? Okay, so then we'll get into Studio One, and I already have the mix prepped, it's ready to go, but I can just start from scratch, and we can do that. Are you a songwriter as well, Tim? Joel, yes, I am. Actually, probably last month and into May, the series of live streams that we did was me writing a song with everyone. I can actually pull open that session and show you very quickly how it evolved. Agreed. I think everybody wants to see some mix prep. I usually wait till Black Friday too, but I don't know, at least 5.0.1. I don't know what the release schedule is going to be. Some people, I'm sure you all have seen on the Facebook groups, and I've seen in the subreddits and everything. There's a few bugs out there that people are finding. Some are, user error, where it's just hey, I did this thing. I've seen some other things where people are not thrilled with the fact that, as far as I understand, I don't have this confirmed, but this is what I understand, the classic version of Ampire, a lot of the very classic style amps went away to make room for the space state, or state space. I forget which order those words are, but basically the newer modeled amps are. So they kind of gotten rid of the classic ones and updated things, but that also got rid of some modules that were in the old Ampires. So let's see, Bill, I already did that one. Joel, I would love if you sometimes shared your practice theory when it comes to song structure and arranging things like that. Joel, I'm gonna let me see if I can find it real quick. I do have a playlist of the songwriting process that we went through. So I'm going to see if I can find that real quick, and then I'm just going to throw it in the chat. Writing a rock song, that's the one. So I'm just going to click that. I'm going to grab this thing. I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to come back to you guys. Hang on. I know you can see me, but I can't see you. Okay, so I'm going to pop it right here. Boom. So, Joel, this is the playlist of how we develop the rock song. It's literally we would do an hour to an hour and a half, and we do it twice a week like I usually stream. Just building up different sections. And this is just one song. We'll probably do some more because, songwriting's fun and getting the process there. But today, I think the consensus is I'll show you, if I get a track to mix, what my prep kind of things are. That seems to be what everybody's looking for. Navdeep, what's going on? Should one upgrade to Studio One 5 from 4 Professional? There's a lot of updates that have happened from 4 to 5. There's over 60 new features. I said earlier, I don't know if you joined at the very beginning, I don't have 5 yet. I will get it soon. But I'm also finishing up a bunch of things in 4, and I want to concentrate with what it is, and then I want to be able to be like put that stuff on the shelf. That's done. Let's move on to 5, and I can really dive into what all these new things are and how I can use them and show you guys how to use them. And that's my reason for not having 5. I want it. Don't get me wrong. I do want it. There's a lot of cool things in there. It's just I need to concentrate on the stuff that I have. I am currently working on, and then I'll be able to concentrate more onto version 5 and all the cool new stuff. All right, let's flip in. Here we are. Don't mind that I have, this is our drum programming session, but let me just show you, we're just gonna do a whole new song, and we're just gonna call this Mix Prep TTA, Tim Talks Audio. I know that the files that I got were in 44.1. I am going to leave it at 32-bit float. None of this really matters, though, because I'm just going to show you how I build everything in, and then let me put this into the same folder. Don't mind all my hard drives and my craziness that goes on here. This one, no, not that. I want this to go over. I know this is for the artist Jerry, so we're going to do this folder. And I can do it into here. I don't, yeah, that's where I want it to go. Blank slate, right? Cool. And open up my Finder, and after you get your files from your client, you gotta load everything in. I could do it from here, but I like using my keyboard shortcuts on my Mac to be able to like kind of quickly go through my files over here. So this is the way I do it. You don't have to do it this way. If you want to go through the browser and through your files here, totally cool. You could do that as well. But I know that like music productions come over. I want to go to Jerry 2020 because this is the year we're working on. And then he's got all these stems. So again, like that's why I use the Mac Finder, because I know how I can navigate. Like my file structure is a certain way, and so. All right, here's our song. I'm gonna drag all these guys in and slap them right to 0. They're gonna start processing their thing. We can go back to Studio One, get that out of there, and we can get the browse out. I don't have my keyboard shortcuts on because I want you guys to be able to see that. And we'll throw them over here like we usually do. Getting messages over there. I can answer those in a bit because I'm talking to you guys. Okay, so everything's loaded. Oh, duh. Let's do, there it is. So it just has like a very long song marker, and I did the keyboard shortcut of Control and A, which is something that I put in. It's a custom keyboard, or you can up here fit timelines to contents. So I have it as Control A on a Mac, which you can custom assign this to whatever you want on a PC. This is my shortcut. So if you're trying to do this and you're like, oh, Tim did it, why can't I? This is one of my shortcuts. So now I can see everything, right? Cool. In Studio One, when you drag stuff in, it just auto-populates the colors. That's cool, but I have my color scheme that is recognizable for me. I'm not too worried about what the names are, although knowing what the names are can help me organize some stuff. But like I can very quickly see like BGV, BGV, BGV. These are all background vocals. So I can grab these 3 and I held shift to click that. And then because I have these 3 and I know my background vocals, I like them to be orange. That's what I like. I know this top one is bass and he's gonna stay blue because that's what I like. I know, because I've already done this mix prep, but I'm just going to show you guys. I know that there are a bunch of guitars, but these 3, yeah, these 3 right here, these are synths, and I like my synths to be kind of like a purple color, so we'll go with this. This is a guitar, and that's a guitar. This, so here's an interesting thing, and I'm working with the artist already. This is a stereo print of the drums, and that's all he sent me. For now, he's actually sent me, he did a lot of the production in this song in GarageBand, so I'm working with him on exporting the MIDI to be able to manipulate the sounds and get a different drum sound. But here's my color scheme. I like my drums in light blue. I like my bass in dark blue. My rhythm section is blue. My synths are purple. I like green guitars. And, oh, here's some fun ones. These two, these are like a TikTok. I think it was done with a mouth, but it's like percussion stuff. So things like a shaker, a tambourine, any kind of like just like little snaps or clicks or stuff or like that. I like to have them separated. Oops. And I make them yellow because that's part of my scheme again. And I'm going to bring them up. Again, I'm going to put everything into folders as well because like this is just stuff I do when I'm not in the mix phase. This is getting ready. I'm not in the mindset right now to mix. I just want to get this stuff ready. And that's what we're doing. But like you can see, this guitar is way louder than this one is. They're different sounding as well. This synth is real low. It is in there. Let me just kind of increase the data size. So like I'm just increasing the size of the waveforms. But you can see like this one's like real soft. So it's there. It's just real soft. Okay. And that for me, that was a macro that I put a custom keyboard shortcut to, which is, if we do macros, let's see, where are my macros? Or actually, let's just do data zoom. Data zoom in. This is a normal one, so I can just do the equal sign, because I don't need to like hit shift or anything. I can do the equal sign to zoom in my data, and I've assigned this one. And then this is actually one of the Marcus Huskins one. The data zoom out full. This is a macro that he made where he just took data zoom out and slapped it into a macro like 10 or 20 times. And so instead of me hitting like, you know, for data zoom in, I can hit slowly to increase as much as I need. One hit of the dash key, which is the one next to the equals key on your keyboard, it does like 20 of them and you can pop right back out. You might have to do 2. So it lets you jump out quickly because you've stacked it in the macro. And so that's what this one is. Data zoom out full is like, I forget, it was like 10, 15, 20. I just took data zoom out, threw a ton of them into a macro, and that's what it is. So those are my shortcuts for that. So you can see individual steps, it's slowly going up. And then once this, I'm gonna wait for the shortcuts to go away. Single hit, boom, right back out. Very handy to have. Okay, back to prep. So we've colored our synths and most of our stuff is towards the top here. Then starting from here, and you can see double and delay, like I went through and I listened to some things like double and delay. Whoa, what is this? You know, actually there is something I need to do beforehand, is I need to take all of these and do my send to you guys. So I'm just gonna take all of these, add a bus, I'm gonna call this mix, and then I need to send to you guys. Cool. Let me just check my output, make sure it's not gonna kill you. Make that, I think -8 is my usual. So now if I hit play, you guys will hear it. That's just something that I have to do so you guys can hear it. That's not something you would do in a mix prep, unless like you wanna throw everything into a mix bus. Oops, come on. There it goes. So now everybody's going to my mix bus, and I'm gonna do kind of like mix bus processing right here. You can't see it because it's underneath my face, but I did throw everything to a bus. It's right here. I'm gonna poke. It's this guy, this gray dude right here. Kyle, if you create the folder and color the folder, then drag the files in to get the color of the folder. Yeah, you could do that. And I'm gonna do that for the guitars. And I know there's a lot of guitars. I just want to put them all together. But I know, for example, like all of these guys, so I'm just shift clicking all of these guys. This is also a guitar, so is this one. Those are vocals. Okay, so I have all of these tracks selected. Very quickly, I can right click. I need to put a shortcut for this, but pack folder. That slams everybody into a folder. And I'm gonna be using more folders. But I can do guitars, because that's what it is. Name that. Change the color. I like my guitars green. And now if I expand the folder, all the guys in here, these are already all green. If I missed a guitar, which I believe I did, this is my lead vocal. Here, this is a guitar. And this is also a guitar. So we didn't put these guitars in to our folder. I can just drag them up. Come out. And actually, what I want to do is pop them right there. When you drag them into a folder, they'll take on the color of the folder as well. So that's definitely an easy way to do it. Now here's something that is a little quirky about Studio One. Like I didn't pack a folder for the synths, but I already colored them. If I pack a folder, it's going to advance the color to the next color. And I mean, it's close. So it might be better to like make folders first, but like it doesn't kill me that much. I'm just packing everybody. And then I'll make adjustments. These guys, name it, perk for percussion. So I just have single tracks for my drums and my bass, but I'm still gonna put them into folders, and I'm gonna show you why. Let's see, these are vocals. This is also a vocal. Solo lead. Let's just double check. Actually, you guys. Command Shift S, clear all my solos. I just want this guy. That's a guitar. Pop, dropped him in. Okay, so the rest are vocals. This is my lead vocal. These are doubles. What do we got? Martin, a bug time saver is to create templates with all the folders and names already set. Gain staging 2. Yes, you can absolutely do that. Sometimes with templates though, like, yes, templates are good. You can have a lot of your go-tos in there. Clear my solos. But like at the same time, templates can almost be restricting. It's different how you approach it, but yeah, you can absolutely have a template for this. Kyle, I have a template with most of the standard folders set up. Colored and bust, yeah. A lot of work setting them up, but after it will save you hours. Yes, it absolutely will. Okay, so you guys may have noticed I have all these tracks here, but like, where's all my folders? Martin, I'm doing pretty good, man. How are you doing? So here's like the last of my tracks, and like there's some background vocals in here, which I think are these two. So I can just take these and drop them into my background vocal folder. And if I remember correctly, that is correct. I like orange, like I said. These guys are all yellow, so that's cool. I want my guitars here. I want my vocals on the bottom. And then I can take all these guys. Actually, first things first. That's my lead vocal, so I want him on top. All you, pack folder. Now let's do L Vox for lead vocals. Are you guys noticing something? In my mixer, all I have is my drums and my bass and my mix bus. See, Martin, I mostly do sync licensing, so templates work for me because of the genres often asked for, and yes, I'm doing great today. It's awesome. And it's cool to hear that you do a lot of sync licensing. Sync licensing is huge. I wish I knew more about it, so I actually just might reach out to you and be like, hey, let's talk and learn things from one another. But sync licensing is great. If you guys don't know what sync licensing is, it's getting your songs or your client's songs distributed for use in like movies, commercials, video games, etc., etc., etc. Like different things. Even like, you know, ads, getting that song built into a commercial or like a TikTok video or stuff like that. Like that's what sync licensing is. And then getting the revenue off of that stuff. Yeah, where's all my channels? I can't mix this. There's nothing here to mix. Well, easy enough. It's because, one, we don't have any buses for all of our tracks right now. And that's something that I do, is I put everything into a bus. And the easy way to do it is with my folder, this little guy right here. And if you don't see it, you can just stretch it down, because like maybe everybody's like small and you can't see it, but you can just kind of increase the size of everybody. When you see the extra menus, or the drop down menu, I should say, Daku Beats, do you prefer AU or VST plugins? I prefer VST plugins, because if I need to work with somebody who is not on a Mac and I need to send stuff over, like a session, they'll have VST plugins as well. If I try and use an AU version of a plugin, they're not going to be able to have it, and they're not going to have the settings. That doesn't happen that often, but it's kind of compatibility. Also, VSTs get updated more frequently, and they evolve over time. Audio units still definitely get updated, but not nearly as frequently. So percussion, this little drop-down menu here, it allows me to route it to something like, it's not routed anywhere. I can route it to you guys, which is sub 1. I can route it to my mix bus, which, is good to have, but I can also create a bus for everything that's in here. And I do this all the time. Now, I just need to double check, because, as I go through these, they're not going to be routed to you guys. But again, this is something that I have to do on our streams with you guys. I don't need to do this. I like my vocals red. I don't need to do this all the time. And now I'm seeing all my folders, and I have the option selected that I can collapse my folders right from here. So I can get all of my my channels with a click of a button. It opens the folder and expands everything out. So one more thing in my mix prep is I want all these guys to go to my mix bus. So one, they go to you, and any mix bus processing I can do from there. Yep, always create a bus for the folder. Yes, I wish that was a default that you could set. And it might be something that you could do in 5. I don't know yet. I don't have 5. I want 5. If not, I might actually have put it in as a user request. Like, if I make a folder, I want a bus. Or I want the option to, like have that be like something in like this menu or down here. Be like, folder creates bus. Click that on, boom, I'm off to the races. Cool. Joel, I've become a bit afraid of buses because I'm unsure of how it deals with multi-core threading. I tend to get less stutters when bus more carefully, but I'm not sure. I see what you're saying, but it almost makes me think of the processing that's going on. Not necessarily that you're doing more or less, but that's certainly interesting. Like the multi-core threading. If as long as it's going through the program, like it should still kind of work normally. Because if I had everything out of buses and I was just mixing straight channels and throwing plugins on and sends and all that stuff, it should process the same way as it does now, where I have everything into buses and then that all goes to another bus and then bus. That's certainly interesting. That might be just like some processing settings on your machine. Don't quote me, I'm not sure. Martin, there's also the transform to audio feature that retains the MIDI info even if the stem is an audio file. Yes, and that's a good way to free up some CPU if you need to. That's what I do, especially when there's lots of tracks to keep, excuse the pun, to keep track of. Kyle, I recently added a stereo mix bus before the main because I have my room EQ on the main. Okay, so this is a very cool thing, and like I'm thrilled about it. That is a feature of Studio One 5, is the listen bus. So you guys may have seen before, and I'm going to try and stretch this up so you can see it a little bit better. And double click, everybody come up here. Nope, you don't want to do that? That's fine, I don't care. You guys may see, and I'm going to be working over here. So here's my mix bus, because everything's collapsed now, and here's my main out. You guys have probably seen me do this before, where I go to the post, I go to Fab Filter, and this is what I've done for room correction. I have it set, oops, not that one. I have my room correction curve that I did for my room after my measurements, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Actually, I think I did a live stream. One of my first live streams was talking about like room acoustics and corrective EQs and things like that. I just put this on my main bus and it doesn't go to you guys because you're coming out of a different bus and a different output. And so this corrects my room and helps me with, just any resonances that I have going on. But if I render a track that with this still on, that's going to be applied to the track, and it's a pain in the butt. You have to remember, like, okay, my mix is done. Let me go in and go back over here. And if I have a couple things going on, I got to turn them all off and then print my track. But now with Studio One version 5, there is the listen bus. And the listen bus is essentially that you can route your speakers through the listen bus and throw your room correction on there. And it will not print onto your final output. It's just here's my mix, everything's coming through the main outs as it should, but I'm listening to everything through the listen bus, and the listen bus doesn't affect what's happening on the main bus. It's just listening to that and affecting how I hear it in the room. So I can go in and throw something like FabFilter is in my situation, or if you guys have SonarWorks Reference 4 or any of the versions of that, you can throw that onto the listen bus. This is something that Cubase has, or they called it Control Room. And I think you could do, don't quote me, I don't really know Cubase all that well, but you can, if I remember correctly, in Cubase, you can have like a main speaker output, but also like a headphone output. So if you're using something like Reference 4, you can correct your speakers in your room, and then you can also correct like your headphones, and that could be two different instances. With Studio One version 5, there's at least one listen bus, so you can throw like one instance on. I don't have 5. I'm going to do research on it once I can and make videos, because I think the listen bus is a huge add for Studio One. Oh, and everything's getting squishy. Let's see, Joel threw something in. Sorry, throwing something out. Actually, I got to catch up a little. Okay, Martin. And if you're collabing with other Studio One users, they might want to use a different VST for a track. Yes, that's talking about if you're using something like Sphere, which allows for very responsive collaboration. There's still a little bit of time, because like if I'm working with, for example, Gregor, he's in Europe and he's hours ahead, or Johnny Lipsham, he's in Scotland, he's 5 hours ahead, or something along those lines. They need time. Maybe I work on something at 11 p.m. my time, but it's 4 in the morning for those guys. Like, that's why Sphere is cool. It's cloud-based. They can go in when they're ready, when they're working on something, do the job, and then send it back to you. So yes, again, if I send it to like any one of those guys and they're working on a PC, they're not going to have an audio units version of the plugin. So VST is far more compatible between multiple machines. That's why I tend to stick with VST, and primarily VST 3, because it's the newest version. Joel, my right ear is bad with high frequencies, so I actually made an ear correction curve trying to compensate for that, with careful sweeping and adjusting. The stereo field became more balanced. Awesome. And like we said before, that's something you could throw onto the listen bus, or, the way I'm doing it in 4.6 is I'm putting it on my main out. I just have to remember to turn it off before I export something. But yeah, being able to go in, like, make adjustments. Now, if your right ear is, it's bad with high frequencies and you're pushing them, it will sound, it will help your ears in particular, but also be careful of fatigue. Higher frequencies will tire your ears out. Even though your right ear may not hear them as well, it's still going to create an effect and the bounce of everything that your left ear is going to get tired. So you do have to be very careful in the amounts that you're adjusting. That's why whenever I do like room correction stuff, I generally cut things, because you don't want to like try and amplify too much. It's just, and whenever I do room correction things, it's like low end bits, because everything in the room will kind of get washed out once it's, not washed out, that's the wrong word, but like it blends together, and the changes that you make on a room correction kind of get lost once you get above 500 hertz, and it starts to get plasticky. At least that's what a lot of people have said, and that's why I've never actually gotten SonarWorks reference, because from what I've heard is it affects the entire frequency spectrum, and everything in the top end sounds real like plasticky and blech. Where really I just want to control the low end to make sure that it's not woofing too much where I have resonances. Like you can see, I have little bumps because it didn't actually, in my room response, so like these additive things here counteracted some of the cuts that I did to make sure that everything was pretty level along my line. So yes, it is doing a boost, but when I measured it, it helped to make things level. And actually, even in here, I usually go in and I haven't saved it, but I dropped this by a dB to kind of counteract that bump as well. But that's neither here nor there. It's a bit over the top, but it actually helped a bit on headphones. Awesome. Yeah, but that's one of the great things with Studio One version 5 and the listen bus is you can just throw that on the listen bus, and then you're the only one who has to hear it. Just like the way I have it set up now, but this will affect my printout. How many times do I need to say that? This will affect my render, but that's updated in version 5. Kyle, there is a setting to not include the main bus processing when generating a master file. Well, that's if you're doing, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's if you're working, like pushing something through to send to a project. Let me just click that real quick, which is something that I kind of don't do. It's a song. That's just the same song. You can have multiple ones open. Well, you might also be thinking like export mixdown, and that would be bypass master effects. That's definitely an option. But if I have something on the inserts, like maybe if I do like a mix and master for like one of the video things that I work on, where I mix like this a live set and I do a master within the same session, I don't want this on because generally speaking, when I work, if I'm going to do like a mix and master of a thing, I put my mastering stuff on my main outs. So that would kind of null and void that. It would bypass everything on the master. But it's definitely a good option to remember when you're bouncing your stuff out. Is you can just turn that off. But with the listen bus in version 5, no need anymore. Isn't it great? I keep talking about it because I think it's huge. I think it's huge. I bumped you guys. Sorry to make it shaky. Okay. So here's where things are cool is, that's why I added the stereo mix bus. Yes. And again, that's like, so here's my stuff. All of these things are going to the mix bus here. And then if I want to throw like an SSL style compressor, now my entire mix is going to be going through here, and I don't need to stack it on my main outs. I can make a mix bus and do my mix bus processing here, and then if I'm also doing like a pseudo master, then I can just kind of go over here, and again, very quickly and easily just throw, like, this is the Slate FGX. This is like their very quick and easy mastering thing. Here's the limiter built in, the compressors here. I always turn it off because I'm already doing a bunch of compression on my mix bus, usually. And I can go in and turn dither on in case I need to, or if it's changing things, change my ceiling so that's -1, and then mess around with stuff. But yeah, I can mix everything through here. So some other stuff. So I have one bass track right now. And it's cool. This sounds like it was, it sounds like it was a bass guitar plugged in DI, but then had an amp sim thrown on, and possibly blended. But like something that I would do is I would actually duplicate this track a couple times and have a few bass, a few different instances of bass, and then I could do like bass here, bass low, and bass dirt, which I can then, when I'm in my mixer, on my bass dirt, I can throw some kind of saturation on. Let's just do something quick and easy. Now I have a saturated bass that I can blend in. So I would duplicate the bass a few times, and I can go into like this guy, which I called bass low, and let's just even do it with Pro EQ. Oops, wrong one. No, that was the right one. It just didn't turn on. I can shelve everything off, and let's say this 200. Now it's just all the low end of my bass, and so if I need some extra low end, or you know, I could then very quickly and easily follow this up with like a limiter, and I'm going to use the L1 because I can. That's a little woofy, but once I blend it in, it'll be fine. So I've put my low end of my bass and I slammed it where I want it to be, and then I could take a very similar kind of thing on the original bass guitar, and let's just go to default and do the opposite over here. And I want to take all of these guys. I'm going to pack you into a folder, make my bus. They're still blue, which is good. Here's my bass. Open these guys up. And then I can very quickly and easily I would actually probably throw, oops, not that one. Wrong Pro EQ, not you. This one can go into here because I don't want to distort the low end of my bass. I just want like the mid and the high. So that'll help it like jump out from small speakers as well, as like a little bit of grit with some saturation. These guys are all going to the bus now, and it wasn't sent to you guys. So here's, see, this is stuff that I need to do to make sure that you guys can hear it. Let's just do that blend again real quick. I have my fader port. It's the coolest thing. That's the full bass. I'm rolling off the lows. I'm adding the lows back in with the double track here. So then let's blend this in. So there we go. You know, and we can, let's throw a fab filter on here. You guys can see like what's going on. So you can see everything down here in like the, what is this, 70 range is kind of evening out now. So that's everything I have going on here. I might actually even throw this on to something gentle and put it down to like 35. That's an example of where a basic template with folders works fast. Like if you already have a bass folder, drum folder, guitar folder. Yes, it's huge. I do have a mix template, and I'm going to show you guys one of the cool things about Studio One Pro is actually being able to import stuff. So I'm going to import song data. And I do have to find it. Template before mix template. I'm going to open this guy. So now I can say here's my mix template, and it has like my folders and my buses and all this stuff. It's great to be able to pull it in. And something I don't currently have in here is any effects. All of these guys are on effects channels, so I definitely have to update my template because I made this a long time ago, but it's great. I can go in and like if I want all these, I just want the effects because I've already done all the work for everything else. You can see it's got my color codes and everything too. It's like, here's all my drums, here's my bass, my guitars, lead guitars, percussion. Like I said, these things, all of my color scheme has been the same for a while. So like my green guitars, my blue bass, my light blue drums, my pinkish synths, my purple pianos, red vocals, and like orange background vocals. And then here's just my effects. You've seen I've done everything else, but I don't have any effects going on. I went to song, import song data, Command-Shift-I on a Mac, which would be Control-Shift-I on a PC. You locate your templates, which I have in here, and I need to update. And then you select, you could select everything, but I don't need to. So here we go. Here's just my effects that I want. If I was bringing in any of the channels or anything, you could also copy in events. You could copy in layers if you were working with layers. You can also copy in the automation. Maybe you had like automation throws and you just move that stuff around. Generally speaking though, I don't bring this stuff in because I'm working on song 1 of an album and I like the settings of all my tracks. I can bring all this stuff in, drag the audio files over, but like the automation for one song, it won't work for the other ones. So I just write all that the way it is. Console options, volume and pan, it would pull all that stuff in as well, which we will for now. Inserts, absolutely, because that's what we're doing. We're pulling our effects tracks in. Our sends, we would do that as well for our buses if we were like, okay, well, the vocal needs to go. If you had like VSTI instruments, you could pull those in as well with this. And copy files to song folder, that's if you're like pulling actual audio data in from the other ones. Like maybe you just had like a gated sine wave kind of thing where it's like every time the kick hits, it opens up the gate and a sine wave comes out, it gives some extra thump to the kick track, which is a very old school trick, but definitely adds some thump to your drums. You could pull the audio into the folder as well. Let's see, Kyle, I tweak my template when I learn something to make my process easier. Yes, absolutely. That's something I just haven't done in a while and absolutely should. Then Kyle also goes, I even have buses for effects like parallel processing and some basic room reverb, mostly preset. Yeah. Again, my template is just old. I actually need to go in and update it because there's probably some effects in here that I don't even use anymore. But let's pull them in. Think about it. Boom. Beep, beep, bop, bop, boop, boop. Here comes all my effects tracks. So let's see. Plates. Illustrious plates. I don't even really use this guy anymore. Room with verb suite. Yeah, that's there. This is a crush track with an SSL comp. I had to use that. Repeater. I sometimes use. That's totally cool. Wide guitar with the little micro shift. I use that all the time. And then I have a distortion like bus as well with the decapitator on it. I do this every once in a while. It's good to still have. But you can see I do a bunch of things now where I pretty much on all of my I don't use effects tracks. I use buses. And I could add a bus for all these guys. Send you to the mix and call this my effects bus. So I could do that. Which is something like I would normally do anyway. I don't always use effects tracks in case I need to put a send on a track. But you know, you could also just do this and say like, oh well, I want my delays to go through my reverb. I could change the output of my quarter note delay to go into my room reverb, and then that still eventually is going to go out through my effects bus anyway. I also set my gain stage, yes, in my templates to -12 using the input control feature in the little wrench thingy on the console. Yes, I know what you're talking about. Again, huge time saver. He's talking about over here. You can view your input controls. I like having input controls open. I don't necessarily use the input trim, but I definitely use the phase buttons here because something else that I do when I do mix prep and I'm going to do it with the lead vocals right now. I'm going to select all these guys. I'm just holding shift and hitting down on the keyboard. And I need to create a keyboard command for this, but I normalize my vocals with peaks at -3. This is a macro. Normalize, oops. Normal. Hey, look at that, I do have a keyboard shortcut for it. Option N, this is something that I put in, but this is something I generally do, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do it. So now I've normalized my vocals. They're gonna be very consistent, hitting my compressor, so my gain staging is gonna be good all the way through. I'm gonna do the same thing with my background vocals. Boom. Now I know that everything is cool. I could do the same thing. I could do the same thing with all of my tracks. And it's not a terrible idea to do it. So like there's my synths. Here's this one that was going on before that was like ultra quiet. I need to do it twice because it is a macro and it does 2 commands. That's why you need to undo twice. Amazing plugin for vocals and drums, by the way, is the JMuck. Yes. MJMuck. MJUC. Let's just go with MJUC. Yes, by Klanghelm. Yes, it's about 30 to 40 bucks. It's very, very good. As soon as I pull in audio, I always normalize and then set the track gain to -12. Works well. And everybody has their preferences of where they want their peaks at. I like -3. But here, let's do this track. Let me just have it soloed. So it is really low. And this is going to be scary, so I'm just going to grab the fader. Where are you? So it's definitely better now. I almost put it back to 0, but there's a big discrepancy there. The MJUC on drums. Yeah, I'll have to try it on vocals. Yeah, there's lots of cool stuff. Let's put you back to 0. That's fine. So this is some more, like we said, we're doing some mix prep stuff. Put you guys back to like pink. I'm not necessarily going to do the guitars unless I need to. And right now I don't think I need to. The bass I think is okay as well. And I'm not too worried about these claps as well. But I listened to this the other day, and I know that these claps... Oops. If I was going to normalize them, and I'm going to, there is also a bunch of noise before and after. And I'm zooming way in. Look at all these, like how many times I hit data zoom in. But this was just recorded from a mic. So it picked up like all the room sounds and everything. Let's see what Dakubi is when exporting stems. Is there an easy way to have sends printed on the individual stems as well? Yes, when you're doing your stems, that's an option. We can get into that in a second. For example, I have 2 tracks. Both get sent to a reverb. I want both stems, but with the reverb included. Yes, there is a way, and I will show you in just a second. Oh my god, that was terrible. So yes, Hangout, we'll get to that in just a second. Audrey, when an instrument is starting, for example, after 45 seconds, do you cut and delete the empty part before it? Yes, so for example, this is our percussion thing. I know that it starts right here, but there's all this noise before and after it. And I had the data zoomed way in right now, but I heard this when I was like, listening to everything. Actually, I think it goes back to here. There's like some mouth noises. There's some stuff going on, and I heard all this. So very quickly and easily in these guys, I can tab to transient, and then I usually just kind of come back a little, cut them, get rid of these, do a quick little fade in. I do this on both, and do the same thing at the end. Go over here. And because this is the only time that it happens in this song, like I know that I'm good. So I could have also Oops. Undo. Undo again. Take these guys, strip silence, hit it, boom. So you can see it found all that stuff. Let's do lots of silence. And then like it cleaned it up a bit. Or I could probably just do manual and it'll be better. So now I know that I've cleaned this stuff up, and that was just using strip silence real quick. Okay. Yes, that was understandable. So Ordre, this is what I would absolutely do. Even in the base here, let me just kind of get my data all the way out. I might cut like all of this area as well, just so that there's absolute silence. Riding. So I didn't show you that guy. Show you before. So we had our bass. It's better if I go over here. And then here's my saturated bass. It helps a little with the attack, and it definitely helps it on small speakers. Watch out for the fade in on the first clap there. Yeah. Again, this is all stuff that you would check out. Let's locate and zoom way in. Looks like it fades because it literally found it like a quarter of a second, because that's my settings up here is a quarter of a second. I could just pull that guy out. I'm not too worried about him now. Still there. Clear that. I think my command is what I forget. Collapse all track. Collapse all tracks. Command Option C. So yeah, I've cleaned up the bass. I've cleaned up the snaps. Okay. Daku was asking, or Daku, whatever, about when exporting stems, is there a way to have the stems printed on the individual stems? Okay, so let's do an example real quick. Oops. Let's put our percussion is going to go to a room as well. So let's get this out of here, come up here, Shift P, create my loop, slash to have the loop active. Okay, we got a big old reverb on here, right? And let's say that's perfect. Song, export stems. This is how you can look at it. When you do channels, it's going to listen to the individual channels. If you do tracks, it's looking at all of the tracks over here in the arranger. When you do it with tracks, it will print the effects that you have going on with it. So let me show you. I'm just going to do, let's do between song and end, start and end. That's fine. Ordre, thank you for the donation. That means so much. Thank you for that. I am going to import this back, and I'm going to bring it back in. All of this is fine. This is going to go real fast. Ready? So first, I'm going to start with tracks. Zoop. So it's going to go real quick. And then it's going to bring it back in. I'll mute the original tracks, and you'll hear that it'll have the snaps with the reverb printed on. If you do it as channels, it will have the output of the reverb on a separate audio file. So if you do tracks, it will imprint it on. If you do tracks, it will imprint it. If you do it as channels, it will not. John Lake's here. He just walked in. How you doing, John? We're towards the end. I'm answering Deku's question about exporting stems with effects on them. So that's like exporting channels versus exporting tracks. So here's the new ones right here. And I can show you. Boop. So it put them into weird spots. But if we zoom way in, you can see, especially on this guy, there's a reason that there's two hits. the original. What's going on here? What is going on here? Oops. Also, these things are all going on percussion. Odd. Also, let me turn the loop off. So let's export stems and let's go for channels. That one and that one are the original. Preserve monos, import back in. Did I mix it up? I think I did it backwards. Oh, I can tell you exactly why. I already know exactly why. Booth's here. What's going on, Booth? Because my effects channel wasn't open. So we'll do it again. Sorry for the mix-up. Export stems. I don't need to do these ones. So we're going to do channels, and we're going to import everything back in. Yep, stems always screws with my head. Yeah, because, I mean, I hope that was something that they updated. If you have, like, your effects muted, then it's not going to print your effects. But it should be that when you print your tracks, if you have something sent to a reverb, it will also imprint that reverb onto the track. I don't know why this is taking so long. Clipping, whatever. You're doing the tracks that I don't want you to do. Why have I screwed this up so much? Alright, these two, Shift-T, get those out of here. And we don't have to worry about those ones anymore. Alright, I swear, we're gonna get it this time. Export stems. Let's do it the correct way. Tracks. Whew. There it goes. Bobby's here. Everybody's saying hi to Bobby. Such a popular dude. After we get this and it's all situated, we are going to wrap it up for today. So if you guys have any questions, go ahead and throw them into the chat. And then I'll get to them in a couple minutes. In the meantime, we're going to let this continue to go through. Oh, look at that. It's not going to do it again. Oh, it muted. It muted it again. It should be. Let me cancel this. I think I know why. Ha ha ha. It was not solo isolated. I hit Shift S. I held Shift and clicked S on here. That was my mistake. That is absolutely my bad. I forget my... Oh, Command Shift E. All right, I swear. It's going to work this time. Yes, it's going to work this time. See, here it goes. Okay. Daku. You go to Export Stems. You make sure that your effects are solo isolated. That's a huge thing, because if you don't have them solo isolated, they'll mute, and it won't imprint the effect onto the newly generated track. You can see it's kind of ripping through right now. And it'll finally import and pull in, and it'll have everything on it. So if you have everything going to a bus, make sure, or if you have all of your effects going to a bus, make sure that bus is solo isolated. Effects channels automatically have, that's one of the benefits of effects channels, is they're automatically solo isolated. Hey! Now, these should work. See, I knew I was doing something wrong. I was trying to do it quick, and I wasn't thinking about it. My effects bus, which is over here, and I'm going to bring these guys into the folder. Now, my effects are, there you go. My effects are printed on. If we do, let's mute these guys. And I just want these two again. Let's go back, and we're going to do channels. you can see it's going to, I don't need my mix bus sent. I'm going to do these ones real quick, and it shouldn't be long, but this will print individual stems. Thanks, Martin. This will do individual stems of like, here's the snaps, here's snaps 2, here's the reverb of the snaps. If you had it going through a delay, it'll print the output of the delay instead of just imprinting it onto the file itself, which is what Tracks does. So Channels listens to all of like the mixer channels, and Tracks listens to what's happening on the track. So if there's a stem and you want to print it on, or if there's a track like snaps in this case, and you want to print a reverb onto it when you're doing your stems, select Tracks and make sure your effects are all solo isolated. So once this thing, I think it's my computer showing its age. If you're getting something ready for somebody else to mix, like if, let's say you produce this song and you send it to me to mix, and you feel like the reverb makes the sound, probably print it onto the track, or you can do you can export the channels, and then I would get a clean vocal. Let's say it's a vocal or a snapper in this case. If you do channels, I would get a clean version, plus I would get your reverb, and then I can kind of bunch them together and mix them. If I have a better reverb, then I can just kind of mute yours and use my own reverb on whatever the thing may be. Talk to your mix engineer. Maybe they're fine with your effects. Maybe they want both so that they can hear the sound that you heard and recreate it themselves, maybe with something different. Maybe they don't have the plugin that you used. You know, just talk to your mix engineer. They'll tell you some more. I am going to switch it to this. This thing is still finishing up, so we're just going to kind of let it. Okay, we went over a lot of different stuff today. God, very thirsty, but there's no air in my room, so it gets extraordinarily hot in here. And if I open the window, it's just going to get hotter. If I open the door, it's just going to get hotter. Or if I open the door behind me, my kids are going to come running in. And we've seen that happen before. Sorry for the shakes. Oh, Chris was over there. I didn't see that. Hey, Chris. But that's all right. We went over a lot today. I showed you some of the stuff that I do to mix prep, like some of the normalization, throwing things in the folders, color schemes. Yes, you can throw this all into a template, and it probably is going to make things a lot easier. You just have to drag your tracks onto like some blank ones. And that's why I'll probably be going in and updating my template and just having like a dozen guitar tracks and 6 bass tracks and more than enough drum tracks and some stereo versions of drum tracks as well, because you have to like drag the audio files to them. It's not like in Pro Tools where you can like match the tracks and say like, well, here's my kick, that goes to my kick, here's my snare, that goes to my snare. That's one of the pluses of the Pro Tools import data, and it just finished. So these tracks, you see all these tracks that it just made? Send all these to my mix bus so you guys can hear it. If I, oops. Oh my goodness. So it printed 2 more mono files. Here's like a full mix of everything. So it even printed effects channels that I didn't need to print because I wasn't paying attention. I was trying to do it quickly. But now I have my snaps and my reverbs on these 3 channels. And if I get rid of that and expand these guys way big, you can see, and then, so here's my direct snaps. And then this is after we exported stems as channels. And here's my direct snaps. Here's my reverbs. So if I just want to hear the reverb, I'm just listening to the reverb. But earlier, we went back in, and we know that these guys, mute the originals, have it printed on. It didn't solo. So that's printed onto those tracks. All right, coming over here, gonna talk to you guys. Booth, that's why I don't do templates. Too confusing. It can be. But it can also really speed up your workflow. I think it was Martin was saying before, he uses templates all the time. And because once you get them, it will really help your workflow. I just haven't used my template in a while, and mine's really out of date. I need to change a bunch of my plugins. I have bus processing that I do on my mix bus, on my vocal bus, my background vocal bus. I got a bunch of things that are probably not in the original template that I need to go in and refine. So we've gone over a lot. I hope you guys learned some stuff today. I want to thank you all for coming and hanging out with me. Probably heard that. It was my son just shouting for no reason because, why not? I find just the opposite, Bobby. Yeah. DCM, hey Tim, sorry if you went over this, but what is the short explanation of the difference of folders and groups in S1? I always use groups just because I'm used to it. Okay, so very quickly, because I do have to wrap up, but very quickly, the difference between folders and groups is, let me open up my mixer because this will make it easier, and I can get rid of all of these guys because I don't need those. So, for example, I'm going to go into my guitars, and here's where I can even solo my guitars. Okay, so here's where you can use a combination, but here's the difference. If I think my guitars are too loud, if I take the folder or the bus, because I have a folder or a bus attached to my folder, the capo audio, what's going on? Just don't overcomplicate the templates when creating. Do the basic stuff you always do. Exactly. Okay. If I was going to group all of my guitars, and I'm going to do Command G, it's going to be Control G on a PC. Now they're all linked and they're doing stuff. And I just did all of them just to show you guys. So all of my faders are linked, but not my pans, which is fine. I can change that too if I go over here and I change my group. If I say the pans are all going to be linked as well, then I can group all of these things and link all of them. I'm just going to undo. Okay. So that's where you can use groups. Now you can use groups in conjunction with buses or folders or things like that, because I have all of my guitars going to this one fader. If I think all of my guitars are too loud, all of my guitars are going through here, and I can change the volume of it with this. But if I think that this guitar is too loud or not loud enough, if I push it up, it's still going to get stopped over here from the bus itself. So I can still do kind of little submixes in here, but the way you can use groups is something like this. These two guitars I can put together and be like guitar one, and now once I get the balance right, maybe I'm going to hold, this would be Alt on a PC, I'm holding Option, I'm kind of just temporarily disabling the group. If my balance is that I need this guitar to be louder and this one to be here, now I've let go, these are going to stay proportionally the same, and then they're still going to go to here. So you can use groups in conjunction with buses. But something like this is, now these two guitars are going to go to my guitar bus here. Maybe they have just some EQs or something on them. I'm not even going to do anything. I'm just going to throw an EQ on so that they sound better. But then for my bus, if I want to do something like an LA3A, now all of my guitars are going to go through an LA3A, and they'll get that processing going on. So I hope that answered it very quickly. You can always disable the groups by going over here, the Alt on a PC, and then your number pad across the top, not the num pad, but the numbers across the top of your keyboard will turn your groups on and off. So like that was group 1. If I had more groups, I could turn the other ones off as well. That's what we're going to call it. Maybe we can touch more into groups and buses next week on stream. I'll be back on Tuesday at 2:30 in the afternoon. So yeah, let's do that. Let's have some fun with some groups and buses and where you would use some things versus the other things. We'll kind of mess with this track a little bit and show you how we can do all of that. Michael was here. Thank you so much. Joel, thanks for stopping in. Ordroy, thank you again. Also, thank you for the donations. Donations help a lot, guys. They really mean a lot, and they help me continue to do streams and videos for you guys. So I appreciate anytime anybody drops in any kind of donation. Thank you for spending some time with me. DC, I hope that answered your question. If not, let me know, and when we definitely will hit back onto it. Yep, same to you, everyone else too. Have a great weekend. Everybody stay safe, stay healthy. Last thing, if you guys are interested, I am doing one-on-one lessons. Go to timflansbaum.com and you can contact me through the forum there, and then it's pretty easy. We can set stuff up. If you're looking for like one-on-one, like here's my problem. I have a specific problem. We can dive right into your specific problem and not kind of do a blanket thing like this where it's, yes, I can answer your questions, but something like that, it's like, okay, I can talk to Tim direct. We can go like that. So go to www.timflansbaum.com. I'm going to put it in the chat right now. Boom. So there's the link. If you want, you can go ahead and click that. Reach out to me on the forum. Say you're looking for lessons, and then we can arrange time from there and see if it works for everybody. Martin, thank you so much for being able to catch the show. DeCapo, thanks for stopping in. Hope to see you again soon. I will see you guys all next week, Tuesday, 2:30 Eastern Standard Time, or whatever that is for your local listings. Have a great weekend. Stay safe, stay smart, and happy mixing. Bye.